Shana Tova, and good morning. Welcome to the year 5785. Earlier this week, my wife and I started No One Wants This. Never watched it? New Netflix show? Watch it. It's pretty good. It's fun. Yeah. The basic premise is that Adam Brody plays a rabbi, and he ends up with Kristen Bell. It's pretty good. But we saw an actress in the show who we'd seen in Succession. We'd also seen in Marvelous Miss Maisel. We thought, she's in two different Jewish shows. I wonder if she's Jewish. She is not. She's just an actress. I'm talking about Justine Lupe, okay, for anyone who's unsure who I'm talking about. But I start with that. I bring this up to illustrate a point that I think that all of us in this room can relate to. There are so few of us. There's, 14 million Jewish people in the world? That when we see another Jew out in the world, or even someone we think might possibly be Jewish, we badly want to connect with them. In a lot of ways, this is sort of the premise behind Jewish geography. We want to, and we usually can, find some point of connection with any other members of the tribe we come across. I was also reminded of the same point in a very different context. On Monday, we showed Screams Before Silence, which, if you have not seen it, if you weren't in the theater or haven't seen it somewhere else, is an important and yet very, very difficult watch. What was clear was that the Hamas terrorists who poured over the border on 10/7 did not care what version of Jew they encountered, observant or secular, Shomer Kashrut or a big fan of bacon cheeseburgers. They were all murdered the same way. We've also seen this around the country in the last year. Fraternity houses, not really known as bastions of the most observant Jews in the world, were vandalized. I just wrote down vandalized at Temple University. It is not nearly the only example of this, but that was only 2 or 3 months ago. Jewish studies programs. We're not talking about Orthodox seminaries. We're talking about Jewish studies programs were picketed. As recently as last week, we've seen instances where Jewish-looking people have been attacked. I don't say any of this to scare you. Orlando and UCF in particular, and Rollins, for the Rollins people here, have been incredibly safe. But last week we were sitting around in Torah study before Shabbos, and we were discussing the difference between being religious and being observant. Does one make a person more Jewish than the other? Are there different levels of Judaism that somehow correspond to being more authentically Jewish? Let me just say, no, that's nonsense. If you are Jewish, you are Jewish. There's a story, and I don't think this is a true story, but it illustrates a point, that David Ben-Gurion, when he was young, met someone from France who described himself as, in that order, a socialist, a Frenchman, and a Jew. Ben-Gurion responded that he thought that was right. That was him as well, or that he understood that. And he said, because, you see, we Jews read from right to left. The point here is that regardless of whatever other characteristics you have, American, French, any other nationality, Gator or Knight, you're a Jew first. Once you're a Jew, you are always a Jew. And there's some pretty deep theological implications here. Too often, we get caught up in this idea that if you follow Hashem's commandments super closely, it makes you more authentically Jewish. That if you are a woman who wears only skirts instead of pants, you are more Jewish than a man who keeps his payas, honors Hashem more than one who is clean-shaven. That's not to say that if you want payas or if you only want to wear skirts, you're not better or worse. There's no moral quality attached to that at all. It doesn't tell me anything about whether you are more or less Jewish, because that term specifically is meaningless. What I think is most important, and I think it's important to look at in a room of people all gathered together, the most important, the surest way to develop your own Judaism is by far spending time with other Jews. Grow your own Jewish community. Stand alongside your Jewish family in good times and in bad. When we dance with the Torah scrolls on Simchat Torah, and when we mourn lives lost to terrorism. We enter this week a period of self-reflection, which I think of, as I sort of spoke about last night, a period of growth. We should be mindful of the ways in which we center Jewish spaces in our lives. The more time we spend with other Jews, whether it's here at Hillel, whether it's at Chabad, whether it's at your own shuls at home, the less we'll consciously realize we are doing it. The more it becomes just, this is our community. Our community consists of other Jewish people. We will have made these relationships part of our lives. And that is how we, as a people, survive. Shana Tova, Metuka.